You know all those GPSs that we got put in the trucks?
Yes.
Or the machines, whatever. So one of the guy fucking installing these things put a short in one of them, and the dump truck wouldn't start. Like it just drained the battery, and we couldn't. So it cost me $250 to get this GPS installed in one of the trucks, and then another $400 for the mechanic to find the short and fix it so that the truck would run again.
I would have
So
called the GPS guy.
from Montreal, what's he gonna do? He's probably gonna cancel all my GPSs, and then I'll never like I'll just have wasted 2 grand or something. So I don't know. I don't know. So now I'm stuck in a
What
relationship with
GPS
this.
service is that?
I don't know. I can't. It's the only one that doesn't cost
Is
a
it
monthly subscription.
is it Mike
Oh,
approved?
What's that?
Is it Mike approved?
is it mic approved? Is it one
I
that it doesn't plug into the OBD port? It has to be actually hardwired.
it's hard. They're hardwired in. Yeah.
Interesting.
So they're so well concealed that my mechanic couldn't find it.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. So
Can't you
I guess
block a GPS with some kind of wand or something?
I don't know. Can you?
Sounds like Harry
I
Potter.
don't know.
Sounds like Harry Potter. I
Maybe
can
you can.
understand that concept.
No,
But
someone told me when you take something, you can block like they can block the GPS in it if it's.
yeah, that would make sense.
It'd be like the same as a cell phone signal then.
I don't. GPS technology amazes me.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever got a like TomTom like GPS thing. I felt like such a like baller looking at the little screen while I was driving because I knew where I was going. I've had a GPS. I've had like a GPS in my truck since I think that the first ones came out, like the very, very first ones, I had one of them because I just get lost so much.
What was the transition like going from needing to wait at a payphone after using a pager to get some sort of answer from somebody of where you're going next or some sort of response to the next step up from that? Was it like mind blowing about like a car phone or something like that?
So the thing that I remember after that having on job sites was those mic phones with the radios,
Oh yeah.
ClearNet, the ClearNet phones, and they had like it had a closed CB network, so you could
Yeah.
dial up 001 and hit it and it would go to that person, or you could do a ring and you could like ring them. That I remember that being a big deal for a long time.
I
Having
remember
those,
that. Yeah.
that's when cell phones were like crazy stupid expensive per minute. So everyone had these radios so you could talk to everyone anywhere they were.
But you couldn't understand what they were saying on the radio. Or
I
not the
remember
people
them
who.
being I remember them
So
being pretty good. I remember crushing like three of them. I had one
I got a story after. Go
I had one.
ahead.
It was I put it on the dashboard of the truck and we were going through like a field and we were going up a very vertical hill and I was taking it at an angle and the truck was bumping and I was going fast and the phone went across the dashboard out the windows and then under the dual tires of the truck. That was the end of that phone.
uh,
I crushed a lot of those radios.
um, so we have one of the old guys who I worked with at the company before we started mine. Um, he would lose his phone daily, right? He had one of these mic phones, and they would always scream at each other, and no one could understand anybody. Um, he went home one day with it in his breast pocket or whatever, got something out of the freezer. The phone fell in the freezer, and he came to work the next day, didn't talk to the boss, ended up going to whatever site he is. So the boss is pissed off. He's can't get a hold of this guy all day. He's screaming into the microphone. That night, the guy goes home. He's like, his wife goes, "Fuck Bernie." It's like the freezer has been screaming all day. I don't know what's going on.
That's awesome.
So you gotta go take a look at that thing. And he opens it up. Oh, my phone was in there. I was lost all day without this thing.
Oh, I liked that the guy woke up in the morning. I don't know where my phone is. Fuck it, and left. Can you imagine
Oh, like
someone doing that
if
nowadays? No one would do that.
no, but these old guys, like he loses his glasses, like he'll put them down and then drive away or something like that. And there's probably at least 30 pairs of glasses missing a lens because he's dropped them somewhere and they're no more good at the yard. Just
People used to have them in their breast pocket of their coveralls when we were like working near the vacuum truck company all the time. And the vacuum truck guys would have them in the best breast pocket of their coveralls, and they'd lean to look down the hole, and the phone would fall in the hole and then get sucked up the tube. It's like you're watching the phone fall down, and you're like, "Oh, that's shitty," and then it gets sucked up the tube, and you're like, "Okay, that's totally shitty." Like, now the phone is gone. It is done.
uh,
I had one that like slid in a van, and it got in the door. And when I slammed the door, it was in the hinge, and it got crushed.
uh, uh. My buddy ran his over with his 8-ton shovel. Yeah, phones are nearly disposable. Thankfully, I've never lost a phone at work. I've thrown my phone at work, frisbeed it across the job on multiple occasions,
Nice.
but I've never
Is it in an
lost a phone.
OtterBox?
No, it's in that battery case, but it was probably in an OtterBox at the time. Why do they call them OtterBox?
That's the name of the company.
Yeah.
But but why? Like, what a name for something.
I
Like,
guess otters are slippery.
but their cases aren't
Durable.
slippery. Durable. Otters are
Are
durable.
otters are they durable? I don't know.
I have no idea.
I,
They're still
I don't know that
alive.
much.
They're not
Well,
extinct, so
that's true.
it wouldn't be
They're
the
not
dodo
on,
box.
they're not in the endangered dodo box. The Tyrannosaurus Rex box.
Oh,
They don't. I had an OtterBox, but then now this phone's pretty old, so I'm not as worried about it. I guess.
Is it an iPhone 6 like Mike's got?
No, I think this is an 11.
I found out this is a 7, not a 6.
I haven't.
Yeah.
How did you find that out?
Where did you take it to? Antique Roadshow?
So I replaced the battery in it.
Antiques Roach.
Antique Roadshow. They had it graded.
But have your guys' seasons improved at all since last week? Has the phone been ringing for you guys? Like,
Not this week, but last week it did a lot, and I got a lot of emails last week.
really?
Lots of
I
drainage work.
well, I last year I went to look at a job, and it was just one of those jobs where you walk on the site and it's like a train wreck, and they don't want a drawing, they don't want to pay for a drawing, they're not really sure what they want, but they want a patio, and then no one knows what's going on, and the homeowner did their own drawing that doesn't work to the graph paper, that isn't to scale. And I actually talked about this on the podcast. This whole experience I had with this person on one of the earlier episodes. I think I was talking about it in reference to saying you're walking down a path, you know it's a bad path, but you can't stop yourself from continuing to walk down it. And you're involved in it, and you're for some reason this whirlwind of shit has you caught in it, and you can't get, even though you know that this is going to crash and burn and you're in big trouble. You just keep doing it. And I had actually worked myself free from this experience, totally free and clear, which is a miracle. Like, that's a miracle that happened. And then my phone rang like 4 weeks ago, and I answered it because now I answer random phone calls, which led to this like really weird experience with these people trying to sell me Yelp today. But so I answer, and it's that, and as soon as I hear the guy's voice, I know it's him. I'm like, oh. And he says, I need a fencing contractor. I said, great. He doesn't need me. So I told him to call. I said, well, I don't do fencing. Look up someone. And he said, okay. And then on Saturday, my phone rang, and it was the same guy again. I was like, hey. It's like, okay, I got my clearance from the city because no one wants to do landscaping now until they get their clearance from the city, their grading clearance. I got my grading clearance. I'm ready to do the landscaping. And I was about to tell this guy, and I said, you know what? This is the bad path I must walk in 2023. This is my Tony Robbins firewalk. How badly do I want it, baby? How badly do I want that this season make this season work? I will go to Whitby and I will walk through the gates of hell on this job that I know is a total shit show with no drawing and no plan and a guy who doesn't know what he wants, who doesn't get along with his wife. But I will do it because this is what you do in 2023 is you walk through the jobs of hell and you see who comes out on the other side. This is a job that no one would have done last. Anyways, I went to see the guy and he'd actually made a bunch of changes and seemed much more reasonable, or I justified his behavior in my mind because I was desperate. I'm not sure which it was. Is the guy more reasonable or am I just super desperate at justifying it? But either way, we're sending him a quote.
Big
Nice.
money? Big job?
No.
Little job.
But
Day job.
last year it was ridiculously big. And it was one of these places you go and it's a brand new build house and they have a small deck on it with 6 steps down. So, I mean, in this group here, we understand the amount of elevation we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
The first thing they say to me is, we want you to build a set of stairs into the back. Like, okay, and we want it to be a pyramid. Like that's gonna be like half your fucking backyard by the time you do a pyramid 6 steps up. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and that's one of the reasons last year I knew it was. But this year they don't want any deck; they just want a patio at the back. So, and the guy's a really nice guy. He just maybe last year I was just not in as good a place as I am this year, mentally. Or
You're in
maybe
a better place now mentally than last
then
year.
yeah, oh yeah. Last year I was having some big struggles.
Oh.
I was unhappy. I'm generally unhappy with myself. Like pretty general, like as a base core of my human being, I'm usually pretty unhappy with myself and who I am. Last year I was specifically really unhappy with myself. So I think I'm doing better that way this year. So maybe I just have a different outlook with this guy, or desperation's clouding my judgment, which could also be playing a factor.
Has this podcast helped
What?
with your mindset?
I like
there?
this. Yeah, I think it's great. I do.
Yeah.
I think it helped. Yeah. I like it too because a lot of people I know that ask me about it or talk about it or they make some reference to it or someone texted me this week saying, "Hey, I need to talk to you. I just took massive action." Like, I think that part of it's fun. I like it. It definitely makes a difference.
My tilt rotator dealer messaged me and told me he's got an incredible Tuesday midweek noontime deal on a grapple because we talked about the Bobcat deal.
Oh,
So
I like that.
So
so
I guess I'm buying a grapple now.
You're buying a grapple?
Grapple for the tilt rotator, yeah.
Which one?
For the 8-ton.
Really? What kind of tilt rotator is that one?
Grib.
Grib.
GRYB. Grip. Yeah.
Do you think you could? I think you should get a different tilt rotator for every machine.
I only have 3 shovels.
We only have 2 tilt rotators.
Yeah.
You should get an N-Con.
I don't know what serviceability is like around here. I don't think it's great.
A Grib has good service?
Oh, yeah. McKinnon Field Service, top notch.
Really?
Great guys. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that Grib. Okay.
And they're in your area, right? So.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are they looking for an influencer? I'm important.
You are important.
That on there.
I felt like that Ralph Wiggum character. I'm important. I don't know what he says, but he says something like that. I'm smart. I'm important.
Guess who showed up at my job site today?
N-Con.
No. The other big E.
Okay.
No guesses? Enbridge.
Oh God.
Oh,
Enbridge showed up at my dig today
Why?
to see if I had locates.
really?
Yeah, he walked up. Ryan something is the rep. I don't know what you call them. The man in charge in our
Was it
area.
TSSA or Mbridge?
No, it was Enbridge. Enbridge truck hops out of the truck, puts his hard hat on, comes over. You guys have your locates for this? Reached in the shovel, handed him a stack of paper. I said, absolutely, we do. We would never dig without them. He says, great. We're going to be cracking down quite a bit more this year.
Wow.
Eastern Ontario is apparently infamous for breaking the law, landscapers specifically. I
Did
said,
you tell
well, you
him? Did
won't
you
have to
tell him
worry about
how the fuck his
that.
salary is getting paid without his $100 for locate?
No, no, I didn't get into it. He handed us some pens and some safety cards and said he'd be seeing us around, but that he was happy to put our
Sounds like a
information in
threat.
the. No, no, he says we're gonna put you in the system as compliant. I said, good, and we'll keep it that way. So
Compliant.
compliant. He saw those locate papers and we're good to go. So I don't mind them checking out, right? They're just doing their job.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're not
Everyone's
supposed
just doing their job.
to, yeah. Except those MTO fuckers. They can do their job somewhere else.
That seemed really negative towards MTO people.
I don't give a fuck.
Maybe hurt their feelings.
That's fine. Me and MTO have nothing good to say about each other.
Nothing good to say about each other.
They probably like, and minor things, right? Like they've probably taken a couple grand out of my family's pocket. My child can no longer go to dance lessons because of a $600 fine for a tire that's 2 pounds under pressure. You
What?
know, shit. Oh yeah, shit like that. Like nothing major, no major infractions, nothing that's gonna completely throw you off the road or whatever. Like all minor things, but just revenue generators.
Revenue generators.
Yeah.
Love a
Yeah.
good revenue generator.
Hmm. Well, in Canada, Ontario specifically, it's full of them.
Guys, we've got a few questions to end the show here. Do you want to get into them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right.
I'm ready to answer. I've been answering questions. Someone I talked to on the phone today, Eric from the Brooklyn group, was making fun of the questions that people ask me on Instagram. He called me about something else and he goes, Mike, and go, Eric, yeah? Because how many bins do you have? Like, off, man. It's like if someone asked me how many bins I have or whatever. Anyways, it was funny.
All right, here.
Oh, you know what was interesting? I was talking to Chris about something else, and he said that someone called. This is a announcement for people who need to realize how vital it is to get yourself on the Not Our Finest Hour podcast and to sponsor an episode and get on here with us. So far, one person said to Chris, "Hey, I heard you on the Not Our Finest Hour podcast." So I think that he got a big bang for his buck there. I feel like more people should sign up and join us for an hour, minimum an hour, but you could join for 2 hours, and we'll have you on here and we'll talk about everything but your business for 2 hours.
That's a good testimony. We can now leverage that and just send it to a bunch of people that we want to sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to get Chris to write us a review that says, I was on a sponsored episode and I had one person say to me, hey, well, maybe he had more, but I know at least one person. And I was actually someone calling him to distribute their material and said, hey, I heard you on the Not Our Finest Hour podcast.
That's a good ROI on his investment.
I feel it was tremendous. I think other people should jump on the opportunity to jump on here with us.
We need to get H&A.
So we need to get to
we need to get to H&A.
Listen, we couldn't score the big season sponsor, and no one gives a fuck about our studio. So we have to do this one episode at a time. We got to grind it out, and we got to battle. having people on here, charging them to be on, and not talking about their business very much. And
Right.
and
You sold me.
in another podcast episode thing that happened to me, I dropped a bid for someone who started grilling down on me. Ali started grilling down on me about the Chinese excavators and if they were good or not, and how many you have in stock. So maybe you should throw out a Chinese excavator update. Do you have them in stock yet?
I have big news. I sold another one today,
Wow.
actually, to my concrete finisher.
I can't believe you didn't lead with this.
I know. I can't believe it took us this long to get to it.
I've had a big week, guys. I'm barely getting
It's
through this French
Tuesday.
estimate here. No, like the other one is headed out of the yard tomorrow. And I received an email from Montreal yesterday that they've located the last ownership and I can now pick up my 4 remaining Chinese excavators.
Wow.
You have 4
So-
more coming?
Yeah, I sold 2, 4 more to go.
This guy didn't want to wait until the other 4 came in and have a good look at them,
Why-
see which one
Why
a cup
wait
holder
when you can have it now?
What doesn't have a cup holder?
He doesn't know that.
Did he get a discount?
I don't think so.
What do you mean you don't think so?
For the purpose
Wow.
of this public episode,
For the
he did not get a discount. I see.
We won't talk about that part.
Okay.
No discount.
No discount.
So yeah, 4 more to go. If you're in the market and the season, it's only going to get more conducive to
So
digging holes.
this week we borrowed Jordan from DPR's excavator and we have our excavator, and I was thinking to myself, man, should have just bought one of those excavators off Chad when they were in the yard.
Ugh.
I didn't. Sorry, Mike. Should we get to the questions now? We've
Sure.
kind of gotten super off topic here.
We are looking for a sponsor. Right now, we've had one. We've got about enough money for Chad to get to the Toronto airport, if that's the direction he's going. So we need quite a bit more. So we need quite a bit more sponsors here, if anybody's interested.
Maybe H&A would sponsor us.
Maybe.
Do you think H&A would sponsor us in order to get to H&A?
They might sponsor us to stay away from H&A.
We go in.
Don't come.
The 3 of us walk in. Paul Merrick saying people are hurling tomatoes at us as we walk through the door. There's a guy beating Chad with a chain.
Why do I get beat with the chain?
You're the one that made the commentary about why is this all these things welded to a chain?
Oh yeah, that's a
You were
stupid
thinking
idea.
of the commentary I made about chains.
Yeah.
Man, I know.
Yeah.
Well, that would get me beat.
Yeah.
And then we could sit down and talk about how we pumped up our landscaping businesses with our illegal drug business. It'd be fucking great. Do an interview on that.
Yeah.
Anyways, Mike, questions.
All right. Speaking of beating people with chains here, Tom Brown's Life asks, worst personal injury on a job site or worst you've witnessed on a job site?
I stuck my hand in the fan of a
Oh my
Bobcat
God.
MT85. So whenever I got it new, apparently the paint was too thick on the starter relay or something. And so you turn the key off and it didn't close the engine. So you had to lift up this side compartment and put your hand in there and feel around for this little lever that would shut it off. And I was building something. So I went to
Have you
turn off
ever
the
bought a
machine.
machine that wasn't fucked up?
This was
The
brand
Chinese
new. Like,
excavator.
I know. Well, no, I'm saying
No.
like
any
You
of
have
my
a bunch
Kubota
of-
stuff.
okay. I'm just saying everything you own that's brand new from that particular manufacturer.
Yeah. Oh
is
yeah.
fucked up. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead. Continue
So,
on with
I stuck my hand in there and immediately felt like a big smack. And then like, what the fuck? I pulled my hand out and my nail was like flip backwards
Oh,
on my
Ooh.
finger. So I just sat down in the stone dust pile beside me, and I don't know, I almost passed out or whatever, but I'm like, looking down, like that could have been a lot worse. I need a
Jeez.
couple more minutes to sit in the stone dust pile and compile myself. Then we got back up and I don't know, I put on a glove or something, kept working. But I don't know. I wasn't wearing a glove for the thing to happen. That and the quick cut rolled over on me one time, but it wasn't running full speed, so that's it.
I this is like a long time ago, so I have some versions of this in my mind, so I'm pretty sure the facts are clear on what happened here. But it is a torrid story. So to start off, we all used to drive in a crew cab that had no exhaust past the headers and no floor. And when I'm talking no floor, I'm saying people's lunch boxes would fall out of the truck through the floor. So this had no floor. And only one of the four windows in the crew cab rolled down. So you spent most of your time inhaling exhaust direct from the motor into the cab that was only venting out a single window of the four. So that's how the day starts. But there was a mini excavator. I was actually watering far away, but there was some guys digging with a mini excavator, and the mini excavator swung around and smucked one of the guys in the head and cracked his skull.
Wow.
So the foreman realized that he hadn't put any gas in the. So they drove. We were actually working near the hospital, so they drove the guy to the hospital and left him there. And then drove back to the job site and kept working.
Sorry.
So then throughout the day, they had to keep driving back and forth to check on the guy in the hospital who wasn't really conscious when they dropped him off. So didn't tell anyone he was allergic to penicillin.
Oh.
So he's like, and none of it, there was no emergency cut. This is like 25 years ago. He swole all up. So because we drove back and forth so many times, we used up all the gas that was in the truck. It was a 350 gas truck. So the foreman got the diesel jug out and filled the tank with 20 liters of diesel. And then we went back, and for some reason, unbeknownst to why the hospital released this guy to our care. So he's fucked up because he took penicillin and then took all the stuff to block, there's like you take Benadryl or whatever. His skull is cracked. His brain fluid is leaking out of his nose slowly. And we're in the crew cab. And there's six of us. Just for the record, I couldn't make the story up, right? Like, we're in the crew cab, and there's six of us packed in it, and it's running on diesel. It's like boom, 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 but it's also blowing exhaust, and because it's not burning clean, and it's filling the cab with diesel. We're like an hour and 20 minutes from home. We're driving down the 401 like that.
You guys.
With this delirious guy. He doesn't know who he is. His brain fluid is leaking out of his nose. Who at the hospital looked at us and said, "These guys should take this person home." Like, Because I think the whole time they were all trying to hide the fact that this happened to this guy. They didn't want to tell the boss, "Hey, we cracked this guy's skull." So they got him back to the shop, and there was a phone in the shop. So I was like, "Dude, like you can't." He was going to get in his car and drive away.
Oh, jeez.
And then he was off work for like 6 or 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah, he was off work for 6. Then he came back and he worked like 2 or 3 weeks. Then he quit, I think. It was bizarre.
Wow.
That was probably the worst job site injury I've ever been around.
Oh,
And there was a whole bunch of other really shitty things going on too. That one time at the first place that I worked, we had like we had a topsoil pile, and you used to dig into it and load the trucks, and we would haul our own topsoil. We'd screen our own topsoil, but because no one knew what they were doing, there got to be like a huge edge on it, like a cliff, and the guy dug into it with the loader, and the topsoil pile collapsed on him and buried him in the loader. It smashed the window, and he was buried in the loader, and they had to dig him out.
Oh, no way.
That was another thing that happened.
Wow. You okay there, Mike?
I was thinking this quote. I was thinking about this quote from Tony Soprano, and it's from the first episode where he says, "I feel like I came in on the end of this," or something like the best part of it is done. Sometimes I feel like I came in on the end of it, and the best part of it is like that kind of shit doesn't have like none of that kind. I came in on the end of it, of the end of that kind of era, and that era is done. Like people don't do that shit. Trucks have floors, and people don't lose their shit in their lunchbox. And anyways,
I can just see you guys driving down the road and looking over at this guy he's got like a blank stare on his face. Oozing fluid from the nose. Yeah, jeez. That's wild. That is wild.
Bro, it was a wild times, man. It was.
Did he say anything like the whole time?
I don't
just blank stare and just oozing.
Well, you gotta remember the guy was really swollen.
Really
swollen.
That's wild.
So that's probably the biggest injury I mean, I'm sure one time I was screaming at people in the yard, and I walked off the trailer, like the deck over trailer that had the 8-ton excavator on it. I walked off the trailer and smashed my head and knocked myself unconscious. I was yelling at people in the yard. That happened to me.
Oh man.
One time there was this isn't funny either. This is like
I just want to say that I'm a very visual person, so if somebody tells me a story and I picture something, I just go like off and I can't help myself. So I'm not laughing at somebody getting hurt, but I just
Well, like when you think about safety today versus that, like that wasn't like we didn't even shut the job site down. We just drove this guy to the fucking hospital and kept working. Like nothing was going on. Nowadays, you have Ministry of Labor there. Like that's a major incident. That's not a.
It's absurd. That's why I'm laughing.
It is. It was totally absurd. And that when we got back, there was a vast amount of people who thought that we should let him drive home. Like, there's some crazy stories from that. One time they hired a new secretary, and they told her put the pay, because this was when everyone got paid by checks. They said put the paychecks in the mailbox, because in the back of the shop in the foreman's office, there was a mailbox where the checks went. But she put the checks in the mailbox out by the road. But this was like before cell phones and stuff. So you couldn't just like get a hold of everyone instantaneously. And when people thought that there was no paychecks, they literally started trashing the place, like throwing axes to the back wall and kicking in the sides of the trucks and like threatening to burn it down. It's like, whoa, like we've gotten paid every other week. Like there must be some kind of mistake. Like anyway, and then they found the checks in the other mailbox. And my one buddy had been one of the people who kicked in one of the sides. Well, he was the only one, I guess, who he walked over to the shitty crew cab and kicked the side of it in and collapsed the whole side of it in. And the next day in the office, on Monday, I guess, in the office, the owner, we're all sitting because we had a big office. We're all sitting there, and the owner said to him, "Why would you kick in my truck? Just because your paycheck wasn't there." And he goes, "Well, you're also a total fucking asshole." It's like, oh my God. Because he was trying to get laid off so that he could get unemployment, but the guy who owned the company wouldn't refuse to lay him off because he knew how much he hated coming to work every day, and they hated each other. So he was just making him come there no matter what forever. It was fucked up. Anyways, what's your most injured story, Mike?
Oh man, I have nothing to top that. Probably the one that I've got is when I worked at the supplier. Those wall stones that are like 12 by 8 by 4?
Yeah.
And they come in singles, but they also come in doubles and triples. Well, if we ran out of singles, we would take the triples or the doubles and split them. And we had this like splitter with a wedge, and it had like maybe like a 10-pound weight on it that you would lift up and then drop or slam down to try to split them in their grooves. So we would have races on who could split like 10 of them the fastest or something like that. And so me and my buddy were doing this, and it was like must have been like 5 of them each. And we were like neck and neck. We get to the final one, and he just has the edge on me, and he slams it down. And then I immediately after slam mine down, and then he starts like jumping around, and like I'm like, man, like you beat me. You don't have to rub it in. But it turns out he had slammed it down so hard on his finger that he had crushed his finger, and it had just completely like blood everywhere, and he was just losing his mind. Yeah, he had to go home, and I think he went to the hospital. Maybe, I don't know. I can't remember.
Yikes.
That's an ugly one.
Yeah.
The crushed finger.
I haven't split a wall block like that in ages, though. Oh, I forgot about that. You had to split your own wall block.
That must have been 2009 or 2010.
Well,
We used to split them with a bolster and a hammer.
what's a bolster?
Like a bolster.
Like a sledge?
No, it's like
like a chisel?
chisel, yeah, but it's a wide chisel.
No.
Like they're like 4 inches wide, so 3. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we just call those chisels. But
Call them bolster. I guess.
holy shit, that's a throwback. I hope never to have to do that again.
Yeah.
Well, that split face wall's out of style, so.
And then
in Cornwall.
Oh, I bet. Eh?
in Cornwall, we still have split face wall.
And then we'd have to do that to the grande ones, the big ones, the like meter long ones. And when we built bins, so you'd have to use the jackhammer. You'd be on the jackhammer all day in like the scorching heat, and that was no fun.
I got a wall to build.
Supplier life.
Supplier life. All right.
Grande's a decent product. I like Grande.
Yeah, it's
Grande wedge.
For big. Oof.
You have to do it all by hand. It's a borderline like too heavy to move by hand.
They got the cores in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, ready for the next one?
Bring it on.
We'll blaze through these last ones here because I think we're coming to a close. Okay, this might be a longer one, so we'll come back to that one if we've got time. Swaving Landscapes asks, Click Base from Great North Hardscape or Gator Base? Have you guys seen that Click Base stuff?
I've
Click
seen it.
the click base is supposed to be for driveways, right?
Yeah. Some people use it for patios, though, I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much is it?
Oh, I think it's definitely more expensive than Gator Base.
Hmm.
I don't know off the top of my head, but when I priced it out, it is more than Gator Base for sure.
It's rigid though.
Yeah.
I'd give the rigid a go, but
I
haven't
would for
tried it. So.
driveways. I'd try it for a driveway just to see how it does, but I wouldn't use it for a patio personally.
Why?
Especially for like a
It's too
swimming pool
expensive?
patio where you're dealing with maybe multiple slopes, things like that. Also, it's just more expensive too, and Gator or synthetic base has worked well for me so far.
I would I have much more experience with synthetic base. So if this was a do or die project where someone was going to crack my skull with an excavator if it failed, I would go with the synthetic base.
All right, Swaving Landscapes has two more questions here. What is the one plant that you despise and cringe every time you see it? I don't get into plants, so I don't even have an answer for this one.
I can tell you, I hate Rosa rugosas.
Aye,
Everything we plant is these
everything.
weird, spiny, terrible Rosa rugosas. They're awful to plant. I friggin' hate them. I also have no use for the Mugo pine because I just don't like the name. Fuck the Mugo pine and the horse it rode in on.
I sort of like Amigo pine.
Really? Like they always come in those peat pots that are impossible to
Ours,
get them out of, and you got to
no,
like.
the little U's come in those. I don't like those little U's because they're so fucking heavy.
I don't like them either,
Those
and they
like
all die.
yeah, they don't like the cold. If it's winter and it gets like +5, then they're too stupid to think that it's still winter, and they all come out of hibernation, and the next day it's -5, and then they fucking die. And yeah, Mugo or no, what did I say? The U, pyramidal U.
Fuck pyramidal use.
Fuck pyramidal U's.
All right, next
one. Okay. Wet lay flagstone or dry lay it?
What's the application?
Yeah, that's a good point. No application provided.
If it's I don't know.
If it's a porch overlay, I'm gonna go wet.
Porch has got to be wet laid.
Yeah.
Patio, you could do either.
I prefer dry for patio.
Wet laying a patio is expensive because you got to pour the concrete base just to wet lay the patio.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it. I'm sure there's people who would do it in alternative fashion, but dry lay patios, wet lay porches. Oh, Chad?
Agreed, but I'll try and steer them away or have someone else do it. I'm not a big flagstone guy. No.
He's not flagstone's not part of your game.
No, maybe like the jumbo flag where we suck it in with the excavator or whatever. But then that's dry laid.
I like square cut flagstone personally.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, final question to end the show here from Ardron and Landscapes. I hope I pronounced that correct. Where do you gurus see our industry heading in the next 3 years?
Where is the industry heading in the next 3 years?
I think porcelain will become more and more popular.
I got asked to do a monster porcelain patio.
Oh yeah?
So it has to be. What's the install for that? Wet laid?
Wet, or you can do it on synthetic base too with those little tile spacer things.
They claim you can lay it right on HPB.
Yeah, that's true too.
I don't understand why someone picks it over pavers.
It's scratch resistant. It's UV resistant. It's you can clean anything off of it basically.
Yeah, so I think that porcelain will become more popular. I agree with that. I think that there'll become more and more tilt rotators.
Yeah, everybody's gonna have a tilt rotator.
I think that's something that's happening. I think in the next 3 years, electric trucks will become really common because there's a lot of small children mining cobalt in Africa or whatever. So those children we gotta keep them employed. So everyone's got to buy electric cars, save the environment, but fuck the small children that mine it. I think that electric powered things will become a bigger part of the industry in the next 3 years.
I think so.
Yeah,
Like even now, like all the battery powered Milwaukee shit that people use, or DeWalt or Hart.
yeah, yeah. Get that one in there.
Chad's an
I
ambassador.
I
Top three.
I tagged Chad in a. They were looking for new ambassadors for the Hart Tools power washer. I tagged Chad in it. Did they get back to you?
Nope, never heard word one.
Disappointing. I think electric powered stuff's going to be revolutionize the landscaping industry. Revolutionize. I see the Not Our Finest Hour podcast in the next 3 years becoming the dominant landscape podcast as
Ooh.
well.
Wow.
I think
What
that
power of suggestion? What's that called? What's that?
power of positive thinking.
Yeah,
It's all about the mindset, man.
it's the mindset. Yeah.
The mindset. I can't remember what guru crap I saw someone spewing the other day. I don't remember what it was. It was stupid.
Our guru's going to continue to be on the trending upward in our industry.
I feel like they're starting to trend downward a bit already. It all depends. If there's money in it, the gurus will stay. Like if you can keep the money flowing, then the gurus will stay.
I have gone deeper down the guru path now that I've got officially have a GPS sponsor on the podcast.
Oh, so you're getting deep.
Yeah. I think instead of 10, which was borderline, now I'm 11, which is
You're almost full. You're guru. You're past guru in training.
I love that was a specific question to be sponsored by a GPS company.
No, because half the gurus are advertising some kind of GPS company.
Okay.
They wasn't nothing to do with you. I didn't even know you had a GPS sponsor. Now it seems more relevant. Okay. Is that the last question?
That's it.
All right, so we need to do the Caleb's Corner. Oh. This was I was talking to Jordan and from DPR, and he said to me, we were talking about something, and he said that needs to be Caleb's Corner. So I said I would make it Caleb's Corner. Caleb's Corner is not affiliated with the Kid Contractor podcast or anyone named Caleb. It's just a random name that we randomly picked for this edition, where we bring value to this podcast. This podcast has been particularly valueless, so we need to bring this little bit of value. So we were talking, and Jordan said, anyways, what I said in the end of it was, hard things make money because people hardly do them. We were talking about how tough landscaping is and how hard it is. And he said something about it being hard. Anyways, and I said to him, hard things make money because people hardly do them.
Yeah.
That is the
Didn't your old business base themselves on that? Like you would always shoot for the fences because nobody else, you wanted to get the job that nobody else could do.
Pick the hardest things to quote and the hardest
a French job?
Yeah, like a French job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we started using 5 conveyor belts and running 3 generators and pouring gravel down a chute that's 3 sets of stairs long. We did all that stuff because no one else would do it. So you could almost charge whatever you wanted for it.
Did you ever lose big on something like that?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
I know on
That's good.
one of those conveyor belt things it was tight.
Hmm.
But yeah, two of the three were really good to it. Like that. The other thing with some of that stuff is if it's super complex, people will just shy away from it or get lazy and just put huge numbers on it that make no sense.
Yep.
Which means if you take kind of like if you were bidding in French, just put huge
I,
numbers on it that make no sense.
I'm just gonna omit the things that I don't want to do, and
Like
maybe there'll be enough things that, like, I'm gonna omit the Twizy pavers and
what's that?
uh they're like the braille sort of indented pavers that go on slopes
Oh,
so that blind people know
Yes.
whenever there's a depression or like
Yeah.
whenever they're stepping into traffic or whatever. Um yeah, I'll omit all that stuff. Like the curbing that you have to bury a foot in the ground before you put the interlock in.
So what you think someone's gonna come and do the curbs on these weird pavers?
No,
Fuck
but
off.
maybe that'll be enough to say we can't use them. Like what I really love for them to do is just say we're going to take your planting price. The only time I've ever wanted to be dissected on a project, right? I'd be happy.
Why don't you just submit a planting price and pretend like the rest of it doesn't exist?
I suppose I could.
And why don't you just look up a interlock company in Hawkesbury and say, "Hey, I got this interlock for you to do and these curves. Do you want to give me a price?"
Yeah, kind of
Make
late to close on Friday. Yeah,
kind of late
yeah.
closes on Friday.
I give them all the spec. I can write it out for them. But I would love to sub out more interlock work. I don't want to do it on these big stuff, big things.
I've got a quick question for you guys. Since Mike, you brought up the hard work. Um, with AI growing as it is, and it's going to disrupt the white collar world, is there going to be a soon, somewhat soon future influx of people to the blue collar world because of that?
No,
No.
because people nowadays that lose their job because AI replaces them, they just don't work anymore.
Yes, that's
Yeah, agreed. That's a hard
I wish that
reality
wasn't
check.
true, but
Yeah, that's a hard shift to make.
and
Unless you
more
were
so the
always
people coming
passionate,
up,
yeah.
right? The more so the people like coming out of high school. I'm thinking, like, will there be through high school less of a or more of a focus on the blue collar world, getting into a trade, something like that? Since there may be less white collar jobs.
I hope so, but
yeah, that's yeah. I wish it, but that'll never happen because there's always some liberal woke person in schools talking bad about the people that built the school.
yeah, yeah.
Just for the record, I'm not liberal or woke. That
Canceled. Canceled. We're yeah, we're gone now.
if we just lost our one woke fucking listener, I guess we're screwed. Someone asked
Yeah.
me what my favorite beer was.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. I was quick to point out it is not Bud Light.
Yeah, I know.
Mike's like, let's not talk about this on
No, I'm just
They lost a buttload of money.
That's like 6 billion in market share now or something.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
yeah.
That's a lot. You got to know your audience.
Know your
That's right.
audience.
Maybe we could hire a marketing executive from Bud Light to get the sponsorship up on the podcast.
Can we get can we get an AI something? AI marketing thing?
Can we chat GPT the whole podcast?
we could ask Chat GPT to give us prompts if we run out of things to talk about. That could be an episode that we do and see what
That's cool. Yeah.
see
Oh, we
what
should totally
trades
do
and
that.
things. Yeah. Give us prompts about hardscaping.
Oh, we should totally do that. That would be
Yeah.
sick.
Next week on
Next week. Let's do that next week because if someone listens to this, they'll say, "Oh, that was a great idea," and they'll fucking steal it.
Yeah.
Other stupid hardscaping podcasts listening to us to steal our ideas.
So I have done it already.
But
I have used ChatGPT to do a bunch of things, and asking it for prompts has been one of those things.
what on this podcast?
No, just to see kind of what it came up with and see what I could get it to do. Like I've asked it for a bunch of different things. I've just been testing it, like video ideas and other content ideas and unique people I could interview for a construction type podcast, things like this. So yeah, I
Cool.
think it would be really cool to just do it live on the podcast and see what prompts it gives us and go down the rabbit hole.
I think we should do that.
Yeah.
I think we should do another coaching episode too. All right,
Yeah, I
this is
agree.
the end of the podcast.
Yes.
The podcast is ending here. If you want to be on the podcast, reach out to us because obviously we're looking for guests and we're also looking for sponsors. So we are hunting down more sponsors to get to H&A.